Box number 1. These are all classic Pongs that don't fit in the regular crate box, and including a Action Max in the bottom. First Pong system to actually use a rifle with the rifle. Pongs here. Odyssey. The Channel F still in a box. Odyssey 2 computer. This is an Odyssey 200. One of the first color Pongs. Here is the Sharp Game TV. I actually have the original controllers in the box. I'll show it to you soon. The cover did snap off, but it's in here. And shoot the lights. And it's a Nintendo. Well, a 10-yard fight football game. Still in there. It is dusty because it has not been in a box. And it can be wiped down. This is the VIS system. It was just before the 3DO and the CDI actually. This was before the CDI. And it looks like a VCR, but this is just to save your settings. But it comes with the memory card, manual, the controller. Not only that, it comes with practically every game that ever came out for this system. It was more of a learning system, like geography, math, and there's more games here. And it comes with the manual. Has the manual. There you go. Alright. Sega Special Power Strip, Special Edition. We have here Rob the Robot, Virtual Boy's games. Every game that was ever made for Virtual Boy is here. And the manuals. Virtual Boy's right here. This here is the Sega Master System 3D glasses, which is in here. This is a wireless Genesis controller, Atari 2600 controller, Atari 7800 controller, Genesis game, the Jaguar controller. There's ColecoVision controller here. These boxes, this is a TurboGrafx 16 game. Pretty much the whole idea was to get it closed. Game Gear games, Castle of Illusion. That's Mickey Mouse. Here are the robot arms. I have them snapped off. Down here is a bunch of Sega games, Sega Genesis games, and a lot of sports games that are still in the wrapper, especially EA Sports stuff. This is all EA Sports. Plugs, Genesis controller, Virtual Boy, and you can see down there's just a bunch more sports games. Next box. Box 2, a Sega Game Gear, 3rd generation, still in the box. It's a ColecoVision down there. And I do have the ColecoVision adapter so you can play Atari games on it. This is a special gift from Sega to hold Genesis games, PlayStation manual, some Game Gear, Game Pro magazines, which I have a whole bunch of crates there full of them. Just this was so the box would close and not crush. This here is the manual and the settings for the first virtual reality game that Sega ever came out with, which was Time Traveler. the hologram time traveler and how it works, the manual, but I never got the arcade, it was too big. What else do we got? Another Pong in the box, the remote control to the game TV, a bunch of power adapters. Here's some Game Gear Dreamcast games. It's my, where am I? There we go. Dreamcast games. These are the sports ones. The plastic on the game TV, I said, snapped off. The spinners for Rob the Robot. More power adapters. Game Boy in the case. There's actually like 3 of these. And look at that Tetris. Probably still there since the day I've last played it, like in the 90s. Oh, and there's more games down here. Genesis games, which is the thing you're going to see I have the most of. Oh, and here's a Neo Geo Pocket game. Pac-Man. Well, Pocket Color. Because I have a Neo Geo Pocket and a Pocket Color. This is the color one. See, Sub Attack. I think this is boxing. Boxing, baseball, TurboGrafx 16 games, Slaughterhouse, TV, sports, football. All ready to play. This is actually one of the last ones I boxed up, so it's just loose knickknacks. Paperboy for NES. Zion 3D, which I have it for Sega Master System. The Timex computer. The NES adapters. And this is the original controllers. More manuals. Transbot. This is from 86 if I recall. 1986. This is a Sega card for the Sega Master System. Toe Jam and Earl. Revenge of Shinobi box. Sonic Pinball. Here's a Saturn game. More hookups. And of course down here we have a Neo Geo controller and more games, and there's a Super NES game and a TurboGrafx game. Legendary Axe, which was the Golden Axe for NES. Oh, and of course, more Game Boy games. Castlevania 2. Tiger games. These are for Rob the Robot. You got these talking baseball games by Tiger. And of course, the Japanese Super Nintendo. Super Mario World. You had to have it in the 90s. More Game Boy games. The first Lynx game. California games. My first Atari 2600 game. Combat. And of course there's more. The Spinner, another Game Gear game. Wonder Boy. And the Game Boy Color box but I actually have it out on another box. Monopoly for Sega Master. This is one of the emptiest boxes because it was the last one packed. But next box. Next box. All right. Here we have more Sega Saturn game. Hockey. Paperboy Tiger. A Sega Game Gear. Based on this, or no, this is Japanese. So it all looks right, but when you put a game, it's Japanese. I had ordered this before it came out in the US, but I have an American version too, so not to worry. We have a Super Graphics. Never came out in the United States. This was supposed to be the TurboGrafx 16-2. But what happened was, you can actually buy a card that gave your TurboGrafx more memory. And what they did was, they gave it more memory for bigger CD-ROM games. And they called it TurboGrafx Dual because it had more memory. But you can pop a card. The catch about the Super Graphics is I never had a CD attachment. So it never came out in the United States. Though you can play the games with the extra memory, but this was only cards. So you couldn't put a memory card and a game card. So it was futile. This here is an Atari 5200. And yes, I got games for that in other boxes. And of course, you saw the manual in the other box. The Timex personal computer. Why is it there? Because it plays games. You have to type them in, but it was at the time you would get a magazine and you would punch in a game from a magazine. Okay. Next box. Well, this is for shits and giggles, but you can keep it. My old Apple II manual and DOS manual for Apple II. Collectors like these. We gotta find a better way. All right. More games. Supervision. This was one of the another portable system that never became popular. Look at this box. For Supervision. These are practically all the games that ever came out for the thing. Game Boy printer. Lynx 2, still in the box. Here's an original Lynx, the battery pack, and this here is for the Virtual Boy. More power adapters. Here's another American. This is an American Game Gear. You can see there's games all down there. Game Boy Color games, Super Nintendo games. See if you can see in the side of the box. Another Game Boy camera. Well, that's a Game Boy camera. Look at that. Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer. More manuals. Next box. This one's easy. This one's pretty much Sega game boxes, Sega Genesis boxes, 3D scope. Look at that. Spider-Man before the movies. And of course, Phantasy Star 3. Shadow Dancer. We look down there, Phantasy Star 2, Sega games. These are pretty much boxes. They're almost all empty. You just have to double check, but the manuals are in there. All the manuals, all the stickers in good condition. Most of the games I have them out. So, remember that? Double Dragon. Next. Alright, this box has a bunch of old Nintendo games. And Legend of Zelda 2. These are neat. These have like 42 games in one. My favorite game, Mega Man 2. And of course, you can see they're double stacked. More Genesis games, Sega Saturn games. Here's one still in the pack. A 15-2-in-1 game. Sega Saturn game, Knights. Well, this is the sampler, but I had the real game. This was before it came out. They're trying to get people excited by the 3D controller, which I have. See more games down there. Ghostbusters. Those are Sega Genesis games. Here's the famous old Game Genie cheater adapter. And you're gonna like this. This adapter here allows you to get Japanese Famicom games and play it on your regular Nintendo. So it adds the distance. And I do have Japanese games. Another box. Next box. Game Gear mags, but it's actually a bunch of Genesis and Sega game cartridges. Ghouls and Ghosts. Those are the originals. Powerball. Afterburner 2. Space Harriers. Here's some Nintendo covers. Goonies 2. Double Dragon. Of course, Altered Beast, Super Hang-On, Golden Axe, yeah, some Nintendo powers. Sega Vision. This was the first Sega magazine that came out. I got 2 of them. And the first GamePro that came out, I also have it here too. Next box. Oh, this is... Man, we're not even halfway. Alright, these are just more Pong games that actually fit in the box. Odyssey, another Odyssey. An Odyssey controller. A digital Pong 1. Another Pong system here. The Super 4000. See, it's just more Pongs. Next, there are more manuals. Of course, Super Nintendo manuals. Oh, here's Super Graphics. This is actually Ghouls and Ghosts, or what they call Ghosts and Goblins. See? It was a card. It only worked for the Super Graphics. I got a bunch of those games. Here's another Super Graphics game. Nintendo boxes. Mega Man 3. Lynx, another Neo Geo controller. A Sega Genesis arcade controller. Lynx game. In the box, Slime World. The Nintendo Zapper, Game Share. Oh, Batman from Japan for the Mega Drive. Which I also include a driver, an adapter, so you can play Japanese games on the American system. Guys, I'm getting exhausted, and I'm not even halfway done. These are what we've gone through so far, and these are the easy ones because they're the light ones. This one we just looked at. That box is personally mine. This is my stuff. Of course, the TV, the Pongs, the VIS, and this is what we still have left. I mean, here's the Odyssey. Here's the TurboGrafx CD I told you about. The PCFX with the games. And then the Nintendo cables. Here's the Neo Geo. And television, the Atari 7800. More Pongs. GameAX Color. That's a portable Nintendo that never came out. More Pongs, PlayStation 2, Panasonic 3DO, I don't know if you see it. More zappers. Another Channel F, the Power Pad. Here's a bunch of games. Here's the PC Engine CD. More games. Well, those are magazines there, but ColecoVision adapter, Neo Geo games. Here's the Sega CD, Sega games. And television. This one actually has a bunch of systems in there. Gosh, I wish you can see it. Super Nintendo, the Saturn. There's a Dreamcast. These are all mostly systems. These are the heavier boxes. What do we got here? And more games. These are actually the classic television games. 2600 games. Top Gun. Spider-Man. I'm gonna have to continue this another day. Sorry, guys. Guys, I'm sorry. I became a little bit too ambitious. I'll try to get another day, but I'm dying here. I'm just not built for this no more. But let me show you everything in here. That is 8 feet ceiling. All these crates, except those two down there are my personal artifacts or pictures, and one box. It's my old videos I gotta digitize. Everything else is part of the collection. The good stuff are over here because the heavy stuff I put in the bottom and the lighter stuff on top.